Hello from Bangkok. This is the podcast Pigeon of Peace where we do discuss awesome skills of troubleshooting. Watch, listen, and check the description below for the details. Let's talk about metrology and let's start with the definition.
Metrology, this is science, how to make measurement of some small details. Let's imagine now we live in ancient Rome and we should make aqueduct and also pipes to bring the water to the flats of aristocracy. Then we need to connect these pipes and how they would fit each to other. We should have something which would be measurement. And there is even a word and even saying in most of languages, это мера и ничего сверх меры. This is a measurement and nothing more than this measurement. Is it okay how it was translated?
Yes, then a measure.
So this word has several meanings, at least in Russian language. It's measurement, how to measure, and also there's like a golden standard. Everyone in the kingdom and everyone in the country, everyone in the state should produce goods with same size to be useful. For example, if you will make bricks with your own sizes and I will make them with mine, we couldn't build building which would stand strong. So we need an agreement. And at some point in our continent, it was agreement and it was established as laboratory. And in this laboratory was put 1 meter in metallic form, 1 kilogram, 1 kilo with metallic form. And then it was made like replicas and each country get their own set of this measurement. And it was a very long time when everyone was trying to check it each year.
And before I actually do have some questions about, like history and all of the deviations and all of the involvements, but maybe main question, I would say like as a human being, I'm very curious why, like it still happens that all of us as a humans, we can't really still find, like one unique system, whether it's like a political, cultural, or any other reasons, because it would definitely make the life easier, but yet we're still using Celsius, Fahrenheit, meters for, like feet, etc.
When I was in America, I asked myself the same question, and I asked a very famous scientist. His name was Carl Sagan, and I asked him why we couldn't use one system for all the Earth. And he explained me. It was, if I'm not mistaken, Kennedy term of to be president, and he offered to all Americans to switch to metric system because metric system is much easier to make calculation. Do you know, for example, why Arabic digits became so famous? Because it is very hard or almost impossible to make multiplication or division. Division. It was almost impossible to do with this digit. Do you remember M, C, D, X, Y, and so on? But with Arabic digits and zero, which comes from India, it became much easier. The same with metric system. If you use metric system, it's quite easier. Millimeter, centimeter, meter, decimeter, and so on. But a lot of people don't want to switch in America because it was an offer, but not an order. So everyone has, I don't know how to say, thermometers. They have thermometers, they have speedometers, and so on. By the way, in most cars, I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago, no, even 18 years ago, now installed two systems, and with some small switch, you could switch system from miles to kilometers. By the way, there are more difficulties that everyone could imagine. We have nautic miles and land miles. Is it okay to say land miles?
Yes, sea miles or land miles.
And maybe nautic, no?
Might be nautic too.
Okay. So there are several problems. By the way, it was a huge accident like 20 years ago. One plane, if I'm not mistaken, from France was flying to Canada, and it was error when some people were trying to refill it, and they use not liters, not gallons, but liters. And after this moment, all countries agreed to switch to the metric system. So in aerospace, and in plane industry, everyone uses metric system, but not other. For example, if we will read books about astronomy, if we will read about digging to the ground, we will find that is quite hard to read them. By the way, when I was living in USA, at one point, I just put a sheet from the notebook and write these digits in Fahrenheit and in Celsius to understand which temperature is suitable for me.
Well, this is actually, yeah, quite interesting. I do believe the translation. And I do remember it's one of the skills which is not related, but nowadays I do understand that everything is related. It's like interliving. It's called big data. You also mentioned that sometimes when we're trying to measure something, we might be spoiling the source. We might be spoiling the tool as well. So whether this thing is also applicable to measurement or metrology, because as far I do understand, because even sometimes when we're trying to touch something with this like a heavy steel thing to measure the length, it still might be affecting it by millimeter, meaning that each time we do all of the changes, we do need to consider like a bit of adjustments. So how to deal with it, how to encounter for that, and again, like how to find this like a middle ground so that we do know that we're not making any mistakes.
I'm very grateful for your question, because even today we have the same conversation with two of our students from School of Troubleshooters. One of our students, she is Любовь Morozova, and another is Valery Хлебнов. And now we make some article about visualization. Любовь Morozova is trying to present her artwork about how to visualize flat and shop and so on. And suddenly she asked which sizes we should use in articles. And I show to her some measurement. We use usually 2,275 points to 1,280 points. And suddenly she asked, but why we do so? And I explain. When we work in Excel, in PowerPoint, and in Word, inside mechanism work with inches. But we work in centimeters. And sometimes if you will put these digits, those digits without comma, Word would convert them to digit with comma, but in inches, and then you will get the same digit, but slightly different. For example, you'll put like 10 centimeters and Word will swallow it, and then will give you, okay, not 10, but 10, 10, or not 10, but 9,98. What's the reason? Because there is a division. For example, length of our pictures should be 17.5 centimeters. It should be divided for 2.45, how many centimeters in inch, and then it should be multiplied with 330 pixels that we use per centimeter, and then we get size something like 2274. But Word would convert it to 275. So 1 pixel would be added. And the same with vertical size. We use like 1,279, but Word would convert 1,280. So each size would be increased for 1 pixel.
Well, this is actually really the situation when pixels matter, which also reminds me a little story of yesterday when I was working on something. Again, like it was like a night. I was, like doing some calculations for work, and I pretended that, like I need to measure the length of the text and figure out what should be the width of certain fields, like what should be the golden or the best choice, giving on all of the numbers of words that we're using. I was thinking, okay, I'm like smart. I know how to use Excel. I would run the average, I would run the medium, I would run the percentile and figure out like what is a good thing. Then I come up with my calculations. I did all of this, like gradient stuff to figure out what's best. Then designer, who I showed the work, said, you know what? You might be smart, but you're not using the right tool because all of the fonts, they have a different width. And I was thinking, yes, you're absolutely right. I was using like a wrong ruler to come up with this. Again, like it was a small but good lesson. And when it's actually like we're speaking about what kind of tools, what kind of approach to measure, what we might be, like considering. Again, it might be different dimensions. It might be maybe even different circumstances. Maybe the object that we're also measuring, it also might be affected by some, like internal or external things. What should be the mindset and approach to measure something that potentially could lead us to mistakes as well?
Good question. And let's remind physics. And I will tell you some very funny and very amusing stories. For example, we are pipers. Is it okay to say piper to person who are responsible to get water to the crane? Piper,
Or
it's
maybe
okay?
plumber.
Plumber, yes,
Or
correct.
plumber.
Plumber is much better. So, if we will use, for example, two pipes which would be conduct hot water, we should understand that there would be connection, and one pipe would go inside of another. And let's remember about physics. Temperature of these pipes would be like 14 degrees Celsius. So they will be slightly small because of the cold. Then we will have another two pipes the same size, but they would conduct hot water, and their temperature would be like 80 degrees in average. So if you want to make everything fit, you should use slightly different sizes. But there are a lot of plumbers who will make mistakes or errors, as you correct me sometimes. So it's much easier to make a big one to be used for hot and small one to be used for cold water, and then use, I don't know how to say, уплотнитель.
Dent material.
And then use some special dent material. But if you buy very fancy and very expensive pipe in some special shops, you will get red one, and they have no dent material because it is already created for hot water. And you will buy a blue one, painted or from plastic, and it would be also without this dent material. So sometimes you should remember about physics.
Well, I do believe this is a good one. The more you know, the more measures you actually could apply to your measuring object. Then my last question will be how knowing about metrology could help make this world a better place.
You know, this is a story. I don't know if it would be funny in English. Maybe I will need your help as a translator. But I was sometime in some shops because we were building with my wife dentistry in the middle of the Moscow, and I was forced to go for some big shop. And suddenly I saw a girl in this shop for building materials, and she asked if it is okay to take this sofa to her flat. And I was waiting to get my materials, so I listened the conversation. And the man was telling to this girl, you know, you have flat width something like several meters, but this sofa is too long and it will not suit your flat. It is impossible to put it between these windows. But suddenly girl take out piece of paper and show, but I could draw it. If I could draw it, I could stand it. But difference was about 20 centimeters. And I was thinking, okay, so there is in our world exist people who could not understand that something bigger could not fit in a smaller hole. And I was thinking, okay, I am happy this is not my relative.
Well, I do believe this is a really nice story to actually illustrating all of this metrology concept, and we review the skill of metrology and how it could be helpful for you. Stay in peace.